Welcome to co-parenting coaching on Tuesdays, every Tuesday on Zoom at 8 p.m. Your coach tonight is Colleen O'Neil. She holds master's degrees in social work and education. Colleen is a trained divorce coach, mediator, therapist, and educator. Colleen's practice, Mediation and Beyond in Westport, Connecticut, serves families in all stages of divorce and after divorce. Take it away, Colleen.
Thank you, John. Nice to see you and nice to see everyone here. So as John said, this is our Zoom coaching for Shared Parenting Council of Connecticut. And we come on here and just offer professional and personal, I'd say, information. It's not legal advice. It's not mental health advice. It's not financial advice by any stretch. But we've been in the trenches personally and professionally, and I think we have lots to offer. So if you're missed tonight's and you're watching this as a recorded Zoom on our YouTube channel, Shared Parenting Council, please feel free to subscribe. And also in the future, please email in any questions that you may have for our Tuesday night shows. And on your behalf or a family member or a friend, you can remain anonymous, or you can come on and ask the question. So whatever format you'd like, but feel free to use Shared Parenting Council's website and our Facebook page as resources for information surrounding parenting, divorce, relationships, and use it as a good platform to get information. So on that note, we got John, an email that was asking about how to navigate the holidays during, when you get divorced, or, and so we have Thanksgiving coming up, we have Christmas Eve, you have Hanukkah coming up, and as well as the New Year. And so I thought we'd tonight just address some of those topics, some of those concerns around that topic. So tonight, the holidays are typically places and a time in life where it's full of celebration with family and friends. Now this year, obviously with the pandemic in mind, that even puts another wrench in people's plans, right? An unexpected issue about getting together. And especially if you don't have your children, let's say on Thanksgiving or one of the holidays, and you really can't be joining large groups, and see family members that you would have normally flown to go see or gone to another state, or they would have come to you, elderly parents, any of those things. It's really difficult this year because it's really an abnormal year. I'm hoping it's an outlier year and that 2021 will be different. But during this year, I think the top thing I think everybody has to take into heart is being patient with yourself during the holidays, and being patient with others, people's reaction to the holiday as well as to the pandemic, because I think you have twofold there. So when you're celebrating the holidays for the first time on your own, it can definitely feel more hectic, I think, and more lonely than people are typically used to, especially when your children aren't in the house. You're not waking up with your children on Christmas morning for the first time. I think that almost feels surreal. I certainly remember my days with that. So you've got to be patient with yourself. There's a lot going on emotionally with the divorce, or added tasks, events that you can or cannot navigate, and just scheduling. So probably by now you've had some kind of parenting plan in place, which is going to allow you to have to, figure out where the children will be. And then obviously not only being patient with yourself, but being patient with the kids, because this will all be very different and they will miss either parent that they're not with. And so if they come home and they're acting out, or their behavior's a little off, really please be patient, because not only are you going through this transition, but so are the children. And they're going through it with their minds that aren't even fully developed because they're children. And so we really want to be able to be patient with them as well as ourselves. So it's a little different for everyone. I think the next thing I would say after being patient is really be flexible. Be flexible, meaning people can get very rigid with their parenting schedules. And I understand that because everybody wants to suck the most time out of the holidays, and that's totally normal. But it's one day out of the year. And they are important days. I understand that. But try not to dig your heels in. And if somebody needs an extra half hour, or somebody's a half hour late, or the kids aren't finished unwrapping their toys, can they have another 45 minutes? Like, it's not the end of the world to say yes to that. And whether that's the parent who asked the kids, who has the kids and is requesting, or it's the parent, requesting more time, or whether someone wants them early. If you ask, try to be as flexible as you can be. Are you coming from a place of it's really about the children, or are you coming from a place of it's about you? And I think especially for people who are going through it for their first time, you have to really make this more about the children than about you, because it's really not normal for them to be in two different homes on the holidays. They've probably had most of their holidays together with the family, and it's challenging for them not to be. So don't dig in your heels if you don't have to. Really use the lens as having your children's points of view as the focus. Another area I think really what people can do is kind of focus on others. So it is very easy to get caught up in our stuff, and why not? We're going through it. So there's a normalcy to it. But I think too, especially in these times, where we could focus on, so if you wake up and you don't have your children, let's say Thanksgiving morning, and there's an opportunity for you to volunteer somewhere, or to bring a meal to an elderly neighbor, or to do something for somebody else, being in service to others is probably one of the best things you can do, because you can get a little lost in that and take yourself out of your own pain in your own world. And time can fly by a little more quickly than kind of watching the clock, which we've all done. But being in the service of others is a good thing to do. Or reaching out, getting on the phone, doing family Zooms, when you don't have the kids, can always put the kids on later when they get home, but reaching out to people is really, I think, important. And especially, thank goodness, we have the technology we do today to be able to FaceTime with people. I know when I was going through my times of being alone, you could call, thank goodness, but there was none of this technology available to feel like you really were connecting beyond the phone, like at least FaceTiming, Zoom timing, or FaceTime on your phone. It adds that extra step about feeling connected. So try to think about other ways where you could focus on other people. I think another thing to do in this difficult time can be, it's not about the stuff. It's not about the gift giving and all of that. We can get lost in the materialism of the holidays or the spread we put out or things like that. I think really you have to kind of rein in and get more simple. If you don't have the money because of divorce, children want your time more than anything. Less toys, more time, the quality of the time you're with them. Make it a happy time. Make it one where your tone is better, or maybe they don't see mom or dad sad or crying, because I'm sure sometimes we're in those positions where our children see that, although we wouldn't want it. But it's okay to not have the big spread that you used to have it. Your children will be okay with it if you're okay with it. I think another thing is to kind of create new traditions too. And so if you used to do things with mom and dad's family and mom's family and all of that, and everybody was there, the pandemic is here, so children will have it normalized that most families aren't getting together. But when they're only with half their family now and they're missing the other grandparents or dad or mom, I think you can create new traditions that you can include your children in, helping to come up with ideas, and so that they can make their new experience with you different. And so they can have those memories to look back on. So they'll have the family memories when you were together, and then they'll have different memories since you've now kind of gone your separate ways. But children rely on their memories, and this is their childhood. We've already lived ours, This is their childhood. So to focus on it and make it the best it can be, not perfect, but the best it can be. And again, that leads back to the comment I made earlier, where it's about being in the service of others. In this case, it's really, you can be in the service of your children, making it a really kind, thoughtful, lighthearted, loving environment for them to thrive in during the holidays. Because they're all, remember, not only if they're dealing with divorce, but they're also dealing with a year of the pandemic. And let's not forget that as much as this is really challenging on adults, it is equally challenging on children, but just in different ways. But I think everybody, I don't care how old you are, is feeling the stressors emotionally of the pandemic. And so we want to be really mindful that our children are also experiencing that. I think one of the major things too about being patient, as I said at the top here, is about like getting rid of the guilt, nix the guilt, get rid of it. It has no place. No one gets divorced on purpose so that they can hurt the entire family, their children, themselves, and their ex-partner. So this isn't a place for guilt. You can feel saddened by something, but guilt doesn't really have a role. If anything, it's going to keep you anchored in a not healthy place, which then will have a domino effect on the rest of your family. And so really realize that you got divorced for whatever reason. It is what it is. This is the place we're in now. And these are the times where we're just going to make the absolute best of this new space that you're provided. And it's a new opportunity to do things differently, to do things, bring in some of the old, but also bring in some new, and to kind of blend that together. And there shouldn't really be a space for guilt. Sadness, yes, can be sad, but guilt's not a real healthy place to go. I think working with your ex in the most cooperative manner that you possibly can, and that would lead again back to, let's not be rigid. Don't step into the rigidity of what the parenting plan doing by it exactly. Parenting plans are a foundational piece in case you don't get along. But if you can bend from it because it works for the family today or during the holidays, you can deviate from that. It's okay, as long as you're both in agreement, and as long as you know it benefits the children, and it will benefit obviously the family members. But keep in mind that you want to have as much cooperative spirit really the whole year, but especially around the holiday times, because obviously those only come around once a year. But obviously I'm going to encourage you, the more you can cooperate during the year, you won't really need to have that cooperative spirit at the holidays, because it will already have been there year round. And I think that's the best gift any parent can give to their children and to their ex, is to co-parent in a thoughtful, heartful way with the children's best interest at heart. So I wouldn't encourage, if you don't have to, spending too much time alone during the holidays. I would encourage you to get out, take walks, get out in nature. If you don't have family around and you can't fly to see your extended family, make sure you get out. If your friends are busy with their own stuff, again, that's what we talked about, volunteering, but try to get out in nature, take walks at the beach, bike ride, do something active for yourself, make yourself a beautiful Christmas breakfast for yourself, treat yourself well, watch some of your old favorite movies that you haven't in a long time, invite a friend over, because listen, you're not the only one divorced. You probably know somebody who's probably in your shoes too. And invite them over as a friend if you're on the same schedule where you have two people who have the mornings free because their children are with their parent, their ex or their dad or mom. Invite people over and make a small, obviously small now because of the pandemic, but a small gathering. And you'd be quite surprised at the number of people that have spent holidays by themselves, when there's really other people that are out there too doing the same thing. So think about people you work with, people in the neighborhood, from PTAs or anything along those lines, sporting things that activities that you're involved in, but there's a lot of divorced people out there. I bet you can find one or two to spend some time with. Take care of your health during this time too. So if your kids are gone for a couple of days, they leave Christmas afternoon and they're not back till New Year's Eve or something, make sure you're taking care of your health. Please don't be indulging in too much alcohol. That never helps any other substances really. That's not going to make the pain go away. It hurts. That's just a fact of life. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but it does hurt, and it's okay to feel that. But don't try to numb it with substances. Don't drink too much. Drinking's on the rise during the pandemic as it is. So be really mindful of that. And, maybe now's the time to set some goals for 2021, start looking forward to that and putting a plan together for yourself. You're more than a mom, you're more than a dad. And, you are your own individual, and you can focus on yourself. Maybe pick up a hobby. I had somebody who just was telling me that they used to crochet with their grandmother, and they're now going to pick it up again, 2 decades later, or 3 decades later. But, just some of those old activities that can be really beneficial to doing that. So if you want to, get your golf game better or whatever it's going to be, then feel free to, do some putting in your yard or things like that, but focus on things that might be more healthy. Obviously, there's always yoga and mindful activities to do, writing, reading, and the list goes on going, making photo albums. There's so many things you can do just staying at home. And I think a couple other things would be to, if you're faith-based, please don't forget about your faith. You can reach out to your bishop or your pastor or priest or whatever that may be, or other people, if you're a churchgoer, other people in your church that you haven't seen in a while, and connect with them during the holidays to share your struggle. But by no means do you have to do that alone. I think you can lean on your faith. I think there's people who are faithful and mindful of that, and can get back to reading scriptures if you haven't done that, or watching a service online or things of that nature that may have been important to you in years past and you didn't really experience that in your marriage, and maybe now you'd like to get back to that. You can think about incorporating that during the holidays, because it's a good time to start focusing on yourself and not just focusing on the children. Like, they're important, but so are you, and don't lose sight of that. A better mom or a better dad makes better for a better parent, and so you're more open and accessible and emotionally available for your children. And it's good modeling, whether it's religion for your children, or whether it's health-based activities, or to see their mom or dad have a hobby, or to have friends. The last thing they want to do is see their parents home alone or sad. I know a lot of parents will say, to their children, well, I'll be really sad, I'll miss you. I don't encourage people to tell their children you'll be really sad. It's fine to say that you'll miss them and you can't wait to see them and hope they have a good time. But the last thing you want is for your children to go away and be worried about mom or dad. So be mindful of what you're sharing with them. So I think the last thing, and I think I'll just sum it up, is, what do you love about the holidays? And, if you're sitting there saying, well, I don't really like the holidays, it seems depressing, or I'm going to be by myself, then I really start to think about what you could love about the holidays, what you can bring into your life to love about the holidays. If you have some old traditions, like I said, that weren't allowed to be, that you weren't allowed to do during the marriage for whatever reason, bring them back in and go back to your childhood and take the good out of that and bring it in, and then blend it with what you'd like to bring in as new things. But I think you have to be realistic. This is a major life change for people going through divorce, especially if it's your first time away from your children. It's okay to be sad. It's not okay to sit in the sadness. And as we illustrated this evening, there's a lot of things that people can do, and really take it one holiday at a time. just like one day at a time, but it is really one holiday at a time. And over time, when you create your new norm around holidays, the first, I think all the firsts are always a little more challenging to get through. And it's good to have some hand holding if you could have good people in your life who will share in the holiday with you, so it won't be as hard. You have to have a party out of it. They can sit in silence with you, but at least they're there with you. I think there's a lot of good people out there who want to make sure that you're okay, and it's a matter of reaching out. And they're typically, if you think hard enough, there'll be somebody, and if you reach out, you might be surprised at the people out there that are willing to help. So be patient, be kind to yourself. It does get easier over time. If it's your first holiday, like I said, just do it one holiday at a time, and no perfection during the holidays, that's for sure. So John, that's kind of some of the things I came up with.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
And you've been through this, John. Do you have anything you can share?
Yes, I'm kind of relating to a lot of the things you said that are relevant to me personally. And I'm just grateful for the advice you have for people going through this. You know, I went through my first holidays as a divorced dad almost 30 years ago now. So there was no COVID back then. That's one thing I can say for it. So I can't imagine, with the complications of COVID, how much more difficult it would be. When you were talking about trying to get together with friends and getting support from family and friends during this time, yes, I think maybe it's by Zoom because it's really hard to invite people over. It depends on how careful you're being, I guess, with the quarantine. But now we're getting all these grim warnings from the governor and other people about, health experts about it's the holidays we have to worry about extra about being with people. So it's a really tough time for a lot of people. I certainly sympathize.
Yes, but you can invite somebody over. You can sit one end of the table, like King Arthur's table there. You're going to have a big long table, and you can socially distance, wear your masks in the house, right? Okay.
Wear your mask, right?
Take a walk outside and socially distance. So there's a lot of ways that people can still do what we're being asked to do during the pandemic and still have company.
Right. Yes. So just a couple of other reactions, kind of looking back on my own experience, being patient with yourself. I think it's great advice. How good I was at practicing it at that time, I'm not sure, but I certainly can understand how important it is. I think that first Christmas was really tough. My two boys, one of them was fine with it. Didn't seem to be too concerned about going back and forth. But the other one was very concerned, felt that he needed to make a choice. He couldn't just really had a terribly emotionally difficult time. And I talked to him about it, tried to be empathic and patient with him and explain it to him and try to help him understand that he didn't need to make a choice. Things were just going to be different. And it took a few years, I think, for that message to really sink in. Also, just on a slightly humorous note, one of the first Thanksgivings with my kids, I decided I was going to do the whole meal. And I hadn't been doing much cooking when we were an intact family. And so I did the whole thing, the turkey and the dressing and everything. And we sat down, and the kids weren't interested. They I guess they thought it was weird. I don't know. I'm not sure, but they just kind of like, what are you doing, Dad? What are you doing, Dad? Why are you doing? So
how did it come out, John? How did it come out?
Well, I think that your thing about being flexible, and we kind of laughed about it, I think, and kind of shook it off at the time, and it was like, well, I guess, that didn't work. So let's
You
just
know,
spend some time talking
even,
together, just being
even
together.
that's a memory, but even that's a memory, right? I mean,
Right,
even like, and you can look at it years later and laugh at it, but
right.
it's a good memory, even if it
Uh-huh.
didn't go okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that.
So, being flexible, boy, that was one of the main things I took away from the divorce. Um, it's just so important through all phases of it, including the holidays and all of that. Um, in the end, we threw away the parenting plan and we just, kind of work together. And I think, because the kids are going through different stages of life and different things that they need, I think that was the best thing for them, that we were able to do that.
Well, I will say that is one thing that I think never happens for the most part in divorce cases, is that when you have an attorney and they help you create and they create the parenting plan, which I think a lot of time it's a little cookie cutter, but that doesn't, so if your child's 3 or 5, it doesn't work when it's 11 or 15. And there's nothing in there about how that parenting plan can grow with the child. And so it sets people up to then argue because there's no language, there's nothing in there to revisit at this age because there are developmental stages. And it really, all the parenting plan is takes care of things right now. That's it. It
So
doesn't, I mean, not the ones that are done.
No.
That is not how
So,
I
okay,
do it.
when you do it, yeah, how do you do it? Go ahead, tell us.
I'm actually doing one now and the child's not even born. So I'm doing the first year of life because after that first year, that child will then be going into year 2. And a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old are very different, right? I mean, those are very different children. And so how I do them is, for especially like in this particular case, we will revisit it in 1 year. And so they have to go see somebody, it could be me, somebody else, and they have agreed to revisit that parenting plan. One, to see what's working and keep that, and to get rid of what's not working anymore and to create something new. So for me, I like people when they have young children to review them on an annual basis.
Excellent. So this is the beyond part of mediation.
This is the beyond part of my mediation because,
wonderful.
yeah, the divorce is done, but the family's still growing. The kids are growing and they will change. And it sets up children to not be resentful towards either parent. And then it doesn't feel like one parent's keeping the children, when in reality, the children are growing and changing. But if you don't see your kids enough, it can look like your ex is keeping them from you, when that's not really the case. Sometimes it is. I mean, we all know that, but sometimes it's really not. And I think listen, we do our taxes every year. We pay all this stuff to the government every year. I think we ought to, we move on in grades every year, our educational system. We should be revisiting parenting plans every year.
Excellent. Yeah.
That's me, though. That's in my ideal world.
Okay, so one other thing you said that I connected with was about how it helps the parent to stay connected with other people, to stay involved, to volunteer time, to do things for other people, to change the focus from the sadness anybody would feel about being separated part of the time or all of the time from their children. And that's one of the pitches I make for being involved in shared parenting. Because by being involved in the shared parenting movement, you're helping the other children, the children of the future who are going to be going through this kind of process, and they're going to have all those difficulties associated with dealing with the divorce. And with shared parenting, you can make it easier on the future generation of children.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's one way of dealing with your own sadness and your own hurt about the situation.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, we take a lot of our identity out of our parenting and things like that, and that becomes our purpose. And so when our children aren't around, we need to have other purposes. There needs to be more to us. And I think joining shared parenting and helping a parenting movement is a great place to assist others with what you've already been through, because you have knowledge that other people need to hear.
Right.
It's exactly what we're doing, right? Just sharing professional and personal knowledge to help make things easier for those who are going through where we've already been.
Well, I certainly appreciate all of your time and expertise, Colleen, that you've devoted to this cause. But with that, maybe we should wrap up. Is there anything else?
We should.
Okay.
And we'll see you next Tuesday.
All right.
All right, everybody,
we'll
sign on to our Shared Parenting YouTube channel, please, when you watch this. And check us out on Facebook. And we'll see you on the next Zoom on Tuesday.
See you next week, Tuesday at 8
Thank you,
o'clock.
Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye.